Another day, sailing away from me. And though the work isn't done, I don't want to hear you. 'Cause you cannot master the stress. It's a uphill battle, but it's my attitude. I'm prepared. If I had to travel a distant avenue.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Trijicon VCOG 1-8. Now, full disclosure on this optic is that this was sent to me by Gary, who is also the producer of the Wednesday night live streams, and has sent me a lot of optics to test that I otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity to do so. So go ahead and comment "Thanks, Gary" down below. As far as Trijicon goes, I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. Getting into the basics of the VCOG, this is a combat LPVO from the ground up. So everything about the design, good or bad, is going to revolve around that. Now they have a few different versions of the VCOG. They have a 1-6 model, a 1-8 model, multiple different reticle options, though objectively only one of them should actually exist, and you can get it direct with a LaRue mount, I believe. This version that we have here is the 1-8 with the mill ladder, but more on that later. Starting out with the body, we have a forged 7075 aluminum hull, which as far as I'm aware is the only true LPVO with that feature. Well, maybe the LCAN counts, but I'll let Brass Facts decide on that one. So the body is probably the most durable LPVO body currently available. Machined into the bottom is an ACOG mounting system, which means that you do have a lot of aftermarket options as far as mounts go. The stock Trijicon setup is okay, if a little bit bulky. Now Gary has chosen the ADM QD mount, which is a little bit lighter, but as we'll get into later on, I kind of think that misses the point of the optic. Up front, we have a 28mm objective lens, which is awesome for a 1-8 LPVO. Tube size is a custom one piece. We have a capped windage and elevation with dummy cord attached for you Marines out there. On the left-hand side, we have our illumination settings. We have a night vision mode, which is actually a dusk mode, and a offsetting in between each one. On max brightness, it's basically daylight bright and gives really good contrast, so it works well enough. It's not going to be like a fiber optic, but again, it is good enough to actually use. Battery life is rated at 600-ish hours on setting 6. Keep in mind that setting 9 is maximum. So you are at least looking at a couple days or weeks of usable illumination, which is nice for an LPVO. Now our battery is again milled into the side of the optic up front. Adds a little bit of bulk and weight, but having a ubiquitous battery selection is nice. Now moving back to the turrets for just a second, here we run into our first problem. The windage and elevation turrets are blank. Trijicon, why would you do that? A $50 Amazon special has marked turrets. For a $2,200 scope, this is a joke. I know Marines aren't known for their intelligence, but surely they can count to 10. Now, it's dumb enough on its own, but when we get into the compounding issues later on, it becomes more than just a simple annoyance when it comes to zeroing. Moving back to the magnification ring, the entire rear section of the scope moves, which is pretty neat. This gives the user a lot of purchase without the need for a long extended throw lever. The VCOG does have a ridge for extra grip and has a relatively smooth 180-degree throw from 1 to 8. At the back, we have the diopter for adjusting the reticle to your eyes. But before we get to the reticle, let's talk about usability. It is, as you would hope for the money, really good. Eye relief is about 4 inches at 1x. Of course, you have a lot of forward and back play on the low end. Eye box is very forgiving, and at higher magnifications, at least for me, it's still very easy to get a complete sight picture. Field of view through the optic is rated at 109 feet at 1x at 100 yards, which is pretty good, though again, not top tier. Now, getting into glass quality, though it does have a Made in the USA stamp on the side, the glass is, I believe, sourced from Japan. And while there is some variation of Japanese glass quality, fortunately, this is really good Japanese glass. The colors look good, the light transmission is good, image clarity is very good. Overall, it's a very pleasing image to look at, which you would hope, again, for about $2,200. The 1x image looks very good, maybe not the flattest 1x image out there, but certainly usable and not something that's going to hold you back in any way. Talking about night vision performance for a moment, this section is sponsored by Noise Fighters. They carry a lot of night vision accessories, and they sent me a pair of PVS 14s to film with, so go ahead and check them out. Now, the single night vision illumination setting is way too bright for an actual nighttime application. Light transmission actually isn't that bad overall, but again, for really dark environments, the magnification of a static image isn't really that helpful. Now, the one application where it can actually work, and this is very niche, but in a mixed lighting environment, like say a city or a town at night, if there is some supplemental light around, you can use the full magnification of the VCOG and peer into dimly lit areas and shadows where the naked eye might not cut it, especially at distance. So you can technically use this to scan dark areas at say 200 or 300 yards, again, where it might be difficult with just the naked eye. That probably doesn't apply to most people for a realistic use case, but hey, there is a potential application. Now let's go ahead and talk about the reticle. For some reason, like most things Trijicon makes, they have about 6 different versions, and there's really only one right option, with a second technically allowable. But this option doesn't have either of those because this is the mill ladder version. Starting out in the center, we have a floating dot, which makes for a very precise point of aim. It would be kind of nice to be able to dial with that, wouldn't it? At 1x, to draw your eye to the center, we have a mostly cut out circle working as a proxy donut of death, which actually does work well for fast acquisition style shooting. Now, as we dial up the magnification, the circle sections never disappear, so at the higher magnifications, they take up a bit of your glass. There's still plenty of space around them, but it is more cluttered than I would like. Also, at the higher magnifications, you have mil stadium lines in 0.5 mil increments, and no wind holds of any sort. For me personally, with 8x magnification, I should be able to take the optic directly out to 600 or 700 yards, just utilizing what's in the reticle. Unfortunately, with the omission of wind holds, you can't really do that, especially in 556 where I live, where winds can be anywhere from 5 to 30 miles an hour in different gusts. Without the wind holds, it's not particularly useful at those extended distances. Compounding that issue is that your windage turret isn't even marked. So if you did want to dial, say 1 mil of wind at 700 yards, you would have to do it by feel alone. I have absolutely no idea why Trijicon would do that. Now, as you can see on these turrets and on the mount itself, Gary has witness marked the 0 with an orange paint pen, which is a good idea. Now, they do have a mil Christmas tree version of the reticle, which actually wasn't even out yet when Gary bought this optic. Ouch. Bad timing, and that is the only version that I would recommend. An LPVO, something that's designed to be fast, have a decent level of precision, and usually you aren't going to be relying on dialing your turrets, should have most of what you need in the reticle already. This reticle does work very well on the lower settings. I don't have any issues picking up the reticle, using it quickly, no issues there, but really it isn't doing you any favors at distance, especially since even if you did want to dial, the turrets are less usable than a security camera in a Jeff Epstein prison cell. Was that too dark? I'll have you know that old Jeff didn't like him dark. Or Jewish, for some reason. Something that I have neglected to mention up until this point is that while it is unique in its body style, it's also uniquely part of the body positive movement at 29 ounces out of the box. Now that is including the mount, but it's certainly not a svelte competitor by any means. Now, Gary has used the smaller ADM mount that has the same contact patch with your rail as a Geometra on slicks in an effort to shave an ounce or two. But I think that kind of misses the point. It's not supposed to be a lightweight optic. It's never going to be a lightweight optic. It's supposed to have the toughest body possible while having that variable magnification. So personally, I would rather have an optic mount, even if it's an ounce heavier, that has a lot more contact with the rail and is going to provide a more solid lockup. If you're sacrificing some of that lockup for an ounce, well, you should have just started out with a different scope to begin with. Now, while I have no doubt that it is one, if not the most durable LPVOs on the market, they aren't infallible. Apparently, Luke C from TFB TV broke one of these VCOGs, but that's kind of a special case. At the end of the day, just because something is designed for the military, it doesn't mean that it's the most useful for the average prepared citizen. Now, I hate to say this, but for 1/7 the cost, I think most people would legitimately be better served with an Archon EP8. The reticle is more useful out of the box, provides legitimate win holds, even if, again, I have my own personal issues with the reticle. It kind of does the things that you want it to do, and unfortunately does it better than the $2,200 Trijicon. Now again, if you're already in the market for a $2,200 optic, there are a wide variety of other optics on the market that are going to provide similar, if not better, feature sets. Now again, for $2,200, the glass quality is very good. The build quality, especially from a design standpoint, is fantastic. It should be one of the most durable LPVOs out there. The reticles, they have a good option. That is the one that I would recommend, and the other ones I would basically not touch. Now, the illumination, the battery life on that is really good for an LPVO, and it is, of course, very heavy. So I think this might work very well for a true hard use application, hence why the military has picked it up. But for the average citizen, again, I think there are better options out there. When it comes to me personally, I would not drop $2,200 on a scope like this. But with all of that out of the way, guys, let me know what you think of the Trijicon VCOG in the comments down below. And once again, thanks to Gary for letting me play around with this for a little while. But with all that out of the way, once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. God bless. You want to see it? See, it's recording. You gotta hold on to this part. There you go. Because you can't drop it, okay? Whoa, you can't drop it. Look at that. Is that heavy? Nope, don't drop it. That's right, it's bazooka. Here, let me see it real fast, buddy. See if it's still recording. Let go. Oh yeah, no, that looks good. You're just being a silly goober, how about? 2 hands, yeah, there you go. 2 hand that bad boy.
Okay, let's go on the bridge.
You want to go on the bridge? Alright, but you can't drop it, okay?
Okay, shoot some.
No drop it.